The arrival on Ravak Station. The ship cut through space like a silent knife. Black and sharp, it carried only one passenger. Her name was Dorelia. She was an elite warrior from the feared Valkyrie Empire. Her armor shone like dark glass, and her eyes glowed a soft blue under her helmet. Ravak Station floated alone above a quiet planet. It was a human outpost, known for peace, farming, and study. No one expected trouble here. But today, trouble had come. As Cerelia stepped out of her ship, soldiers on the dock froze. They had never seen a Valkyrie this close. Tall, elegant, and dangerous. But she didn't look at them. Her eyes searched for one man, Commander Elias Ward. He waited for her at the end of the walkway. No guards, no weapons, just him, standing calmly with his hands behind his back. "You are late," he said, voice calm like still water. "I do not answer to humans," Cerelia replied coldly. Her voice was sharp, trained to intimidate. But Elias didn't blink. He just smiled. "Then you're right on time," he said. The tension in the air was thick. Humans whispered. Why wasn't their commander afraid? Everyone knew who she was. The Valkyrie didn't come for peace. They came to break minds and conquer hearts. Cerelia stepped closer. Her boots echoed on the metal floor. "I challenge you," she said. "You will fight me, lose, and beg, or I will destroy this station myself." Gasps filled the room. But Elias didn't move. His smile stayed. "Do you always greet people with threats?" he asked gently. She blinked. Was he mocking her? "This is not a game," she growled. "This is a test of power. Your species talks too much. Now you will show what you really are." "All right," Elias said. "I accept." The crowd went silent. No fear, no hesitation, just acceptance. "You accept," she said slowly. "Yes," he replied. "But I won't fight with hate. If you wish to learn who humans are, I'll show you the honest way." Cerelia narrowed her eyes. He was strange, not weak, not strong in the usual way, but calm, peaceful, like the eye of a storm. "Prepare for battle," she said. "Tomorrow, noon, no weapons, just you and me." "Deal," Elias nodded. As she turned to leave, Cerelia heard something strange. The humans weren't laughing. They weren't angry. They were smiling. Some even nodded at her. She frowned. On other worlds, people feared her. Here, they were different. She walked to her assigned quarters, but something inside her felt unsettled. She replayed the moment again and again. Why wasn't he afraid? In her room, she removed her helmet. Her face was flawless, sculpted by generations of warriors. But her eyes held a flicker of confusion. The humans were not like her people described. The station's air was quiet, warm, and full of life. Not a prison, not a battlefield, but something else. And the commander, why did he feel like a puzzle she couldn't solve? She looked out the window into the stars. Tomorrow, she would fight him, break him, prove her worth. Yet deep inside, a whisper stirred. What if he breaks something in me? Her challenge, his calm. The training hall was silent. Its floor was made of soft metal, designed to absorb impact. The lights above were dim, like the beginning of a storm. People had gathered along the edges, whispering, waiting, watching. Cerelia entered first. Her body moved like a shadow, smooth, strong, deadly. She wore light armor now, but still held herself like a queen of war. Her long silver hair was tied behind her head. Her eyes, cold and focused, scanned the room. And then Elias stepped in. He wore no armor, only simple clothing, black shirt, brown pants, boots dusty from his morning walk. Some in the crowd looked worried. Others smiled like they knew a secret. Cerelia raised an eyebrow. "You are unarmed," she said. "You asked for no weapons," Elias replied, his voice calm as ever. "And no armor. I trust you not to kill me," he said. After all, this is only a test, isn't it? She studied him. He didn't raise his voice, didn't try to look bigger or stronger. He just stood still, like a mountain that didn't need to shout. Xyrelia's heart beat a little faster. Why was his stillness more powerful than any threat? A signal rang. The match had begun. She moved first. Fast, deadly. Her strikes came in like a storm, each hit trained to break bones, each movement flawless. But Elias, he dodged. Not quickly, not nervously, but with smooth steps, quiet and calm. He moved like water around her fire. He didn't hit back, not yet. He only watched, moved, and learned. "Fight me," she shouted, spinning with a high kick that could split wood. He ducked, turned, and stood again. "You're angry," he said gently. "Of course I am." "Then you will lose." His words stung her, not because they were cruel, but because they felt true. She attacked again, this time faster, sharper. Her people had trained her since she was 6. She had beaten warriors, soldiers, even champions. But this human, he was something else. He grabbed her wrist mid-strike. His hand didn't shake, didn't squeeze hard. Just held it, firm and still. For a moment, everything stopped. She looked into his eyes. No fear, no hate, just understanding. "Why do you fight?" he asked. "To prove we are better," she answered. "But you don't need to prove that," he said. "You're already strong." His grip loosened, and he let her go. She took 3 steps back. Her breath was heavy, not from pain, but from confusion. She had expected blood, rage, war cries. Instead, she got kindness and calm. "Do you think kindness is stronger than power?" she asked. Elias stepped forward slowly. "No," he said. "I think kindness is power." The crowd was silent. Xyrelia dropped to one knee, not out of pain, but out of something deeper. She had not lost the fight, yet her heart felt like it had been touched. "Why didn't you finish me?" she asked, eyes low. "Because we're not enemies," he said softly. "You were told lies about us." Tears almost filled her eyes, but she blinked them away. Her people would never understand. But in that moment, something shifted. For the first time in her life, the great warrior of the Valkyrie felt weak, not in body, but in belief. And that scared her more than any blade. The duel that shook the station. The air on Ravak station felt heavy. Outside the training hall, word had spread like fire. An alien warrior had come to crush the human commander. And instead, she had met something she didn't expect. Not resistance, not weakness, but something stranger, something softer. Restraint. Now the station's crew stood in silence. Many had seen the first exchange, but what was happening today was no longer just a challenge. It was something deeper. Xyrelia stood in the center of the hall again. No cheers, no music, just quiet eyes watching her every move. She had trained for war, battle, domination, but never for this strange thing the humans were showing her, respect without fear. Elias walked in a few moments later, holding a small cloth to clean his hands, calm, like always, as if this was nothing more than a morning stroll. "Are you ready for a rematch?" he asked. "I never lost," Xyrelia said flatly. Elias nodded. "Then let's call it Part 2. She hated how he smiled at her, not mockingly, but kindly, as if he already understood what she didn't want to admit. A bell chimed. The second duel began. This time, Xyrelia didn't hold back. She moved fast, twisting, leaping, striking low then high. Her fists were lightning. Her feet struck like thunder. Her breath was steady, trained from years of war. Elias moved too, but not like a soldier. He moved like a dancer, each dodge smooth, each counter measured. He wasn't trying to defeat her. He was trying to reach her. She struck at his chest. He blocked with one arm and spun her to the side, placing a hand gently on her shoulder before stepping back. "Your people taught you how to fight," he said softly, "but they never taught you why." Cerelia hissed and rushed again, driving her knee toward his stomach. He caught her leg and, instead of slamming her down, helped her lower it gently to the ground. It confused her. No man had ever treated her like this in battle. Not weakly, but with care. Suddenly, she shouted, "Stop!" The room froze. Elias didn't move. Her voice trembled. "Why don't you fight like the others? Why don't you want to win?" He stepped closer, his voice like calm fire. "Because I don't believe in destroying to prove power." She looked down. Her hands, meant for war, now shook. "This was supposed to be a victory," she whispered. "My people will say I failed." "Did you?" he asked. She met his eyes, and something in her chest ached. Not pain. Something warmer. Something real. "You confuse me, human," she said. "You fight with no hate. You move with no fear. Who are you?" Elias stepped forward again, gently brushing the dust off her shoulder. "I'm just a man who believes that strength is not in fists," he said, "but in hearts that don't give up." The silence in the room was complete. Cerelia took one slow breath, and then she dropped to her knees, not in surrender, but in something that felt deeper than any war. "I came to break you," she said. "But you didn't," Elias answered. "No," she replied, eyes wide and unsure. "You broke me." Tears welled in her eyes. Her hands, shaking, touched the floor. "I don't know what I am anymore." Elias knelt beside her. "You are free to choose now," he said. "Not as a warrior, not as a tool, but as yourself." She closed her eyes. For the first time, she was not a weapon. She was something else. Maybe someone new. Someone human. The warrior's confusion. After the duel, Cerelia did not return to her ship. She didn't storm out in anger or demand a rematch. Instead, she walked slowly through the quiet halls of Ravak Station, like a shadow searching for its light. Her thoughts were loud, louder than the cheers or the silence after her defeat. The Valkyrie Code had always been clear: win or lose, no emotion. Never question orders. Never trust a human. But something had cracked inside her, like thin glass under pressure. And the man who did it hadn't raised a blade. He had raised questions. In the reflection of a long window, she saw herself. Tall, strong, flawless. But her eyes, those sharp, icy eyes that had once frozen men in fear, now looked unsure. "What have you done to me?" she whispered to no one. Behind her, the doors slid open. It was Elias. Not in command uniform, just a simple coat and warm drink in hand. He didn't speak right away. He just offered her the drink. She looked at it like it was a trap. "What is this?" she asked. "Hot tea," he said. "Chamomile. Helps the heart slow down." "I do not need help," she replied. He smiled. Everyone does, sometimes. She didn't take it, but didn't walk away either. He sat on a bench nearby and looked out the same window. After a pause, she spoke. "You embarrassed me. I didn't mean to. You fought me in front of my enemies. And you won with mercy. Would you have preferred cruelty?" He asked softly. She didn't answer. Instead, she sat beside him. Not close, but not far. They watched the stars for a moment. "I was raised in a war camp," she said suddenly. "My first lesson was how to choke a soldier. My second was how to feel nothing when doing it." Elias said nothing. He only listened. "When I was 10, she continued, voice quieter now, "my mentor told me humans were weak because they felt too much." "Do you believe that?" he asked. She looked down at her hands. Strong hands. Deadly hands. And yet, they shook. "I don't know what to believe anymore," she admitted. He nodded. "That's the first step to becoming something better." She turned toward him sharply. "You think I'm broken." He looked at her directly. Not as a warrior, not as an enemy. As a person. I think you're waking up. Suddenly, an alarm buzzed through the halls. Red lights flashed. A voice echoed over the speakers. Unauthorized signal detected. Sector 5. Possible breach. Cerelia jumped up instantly. What is that? She asked. Elias stood too, calm but alert. I don't know, but I need to check. I'm coming with you. You don't take orders from me, remember? He said with a faint smile. This isn't about orders, she replied. It's about answers. They moved through the halls quickly, side by side. When they reached Sector 5, 2 guards were already down, stunned, not killed. Elias knelt to check their vitals. Still breathing, he muttered. Cyrilia's eyes scanned the shadows. This wasn't just a random attack, she said. This was precision, military. They moved deeper into the corridor. Then she stopped. Her eyes locked onto a broken panel on the wall, one used by Valkyrie operatives to send coded messages. She stepped closer. No, she whispered. What is it? Elias asked. She turned to him slowly, her face pale. My people, she said. They're not just testing me. They're watching me. And now, they're planning something. What do you mean? This wasn't about breaking the human. Then what was it? Her voice was cold again. Not from pride, but fear. This was a trap. And I think they're going to destroy this station, with me still on it. The secret's in the dark. Cyrilia stood frozen. Her warrior's instinct told her to run, to survive. But something inside her refused. The truth was unraveling too fast, like a thread being pulled from the edge of everything she believed. Elias stepped closer. What trap? He asked again, firmer now. Cyrilia turned toward the damaged wall panel. It was small, almost invisible, but she recognized the faint pulse of blue behind it. A hidden Valkyrie transmitter. That device, she said quietly, it's not just for sending signals. It also listens. Elias frowned. Someone's been spying on us. She nodded. Since the day I arrived. They looked at each other, and for the first time, there was no difference between them. No alien, no human, just 2 people facing something bigger than themselves. Cyrilia took a sharp breath. I was told this mission was to test human strength. I thought it was a public challenge, a message to your people. And now? Elias asked. Now I think I was never meant to return. A beat of silence passed. Then Elias said, You think they plan to kill you? No, she whispered. They plan to use me. As they moved deeper into the corridor, she explained. Every elite warrior in the Valkyrie Empire is implanted with a failsafe device. It's hidden in the spine, meant to explode if a warrior turns against the Empire. It's small, but powerful. What triggers it? Elias asked, voice steady but tense. A word, a signal, maybe even silence. She paused. I haven't reported back in 3 days. That might be enough. He stopped walking. Then we need to remove it, he said. We have doctors, tech. No, she interrupted, her voice shaking. If you try to remove it, it might trigger early. Elias looked at her, really looked, at the fire still in her eyes, and the fear behind it. So what do we do? He asked. Before she could answer, the lights above them flickered. A low, humming sound filled the corridor. Something was powering up. Cyrilia's hand went to her side. Something's here. Or someone, Elias muttered. They ran toward the sound, their boots echoing through the metal hallway. Around the corner, a door had been pried open, wires hanging loose, sparks flying from the ceiling. Inside, the room was dark. One emergency light blinked red in the corner. On the floor was a small console, and a Valkyrie message blinking across it. Cyrilia stepped forward slowly. It's a final directive, she said, from the Empire. Elias moved closer. What does it say? She hesitated, then read aloud. If subject does not return with target surrender within 4 cycles, the device will activate. All evidence must be erased. Mission complete. She turned to him. They were never testing you. They wanted me to destroy this place. And if I failed, they'd destroy me instead. The silence that followed was cold and long. Then Elias said something she didn't expect. We're not going to let them do that. You can't stop them, she said. Maybe not alone, he replied. But you're not alone anymore. Suddenly, a new alarm blared through the station. This time, not a drill. A real threat. Unauthorized docking detected. Main hangar. Repeat. Unauthorized docking. Possible hostile entry. Elias's face hardened. They're here, he said. The Valkyrie didn't wait. They came to finish the job. Cerelia turned toward the door. Then it's time they see what a real human and a broken Valkyrie can do together. He smiled. Together, then. As they rushed out, shoulder to shoulder, both of them knew. This wasn't about survival anymore. It was about truth, about loyalty, and maybe something more than either of them had ever known. The final stand together. The station trembled. Far below, in the main hangar, the Valkyrie ship had pierced through the outer shell like a blade. Its black wings stretched wide, and from its belly poured elite warriors, fast, armed, and silent. No flags, no words, only one goal. Erase the failure. Erase the evidence. Cerelia and Elias ran through narrow halls. Alarms wailed. Station lights flickered red, turning everything into a moving shadow. Crew members rushed to defense positions, but they were outnumbered and unprepared. This wasn't a battle. It was a planned execution. And Cerelia knew it. They're not here for war, she told Elias. They're here for me. Then we give them a reason to regret it, Elias said calmly, passing her a compact pulse blade. You still trust me with a weapon? She asked, surprised. He looked her in the eyes. I trust you with my life. Her grip tightened. Then let's make sure you keep it. They entered the central operations room. The station's tactical officers were already monitoring the invading forces on screen, red dots filling the map like blood drops. How many ships? Elias asked the officer. Just one, she replied. But full squad. 20 Valkyrie elites. No response to hails. Cerelia leaned in. They'll go for the core next. They want to destroy the memory banks, then detonate my implant when I'm close. So we stop them at the core, Elias said. The officer stared at him. Sir, with respect, this is suicide. Not if we know their next move, Cerelia replied. She tapped a few commands into the console, revealing an old schematic. There's a vent shaft. Small, narrow, forgotten by most. It leads straight to the core's defense ring. We use it to get ahead. You'll never fit, Elias said, eyeing the narrow tunnel. She smirked. You forget. In not wearing the armor this time. He looked at her, not just as a warrior, but as something more. Be careful, he said. No promises, she replied. While the crew bought time with a distraction, Cerelia slipped into the vent shaft. The walls were tight, hot, and filled with the buzzing of power cables. Every movement reminded her of who she used to be, silent, deadly, loyal to the Empire. But today, she wasn't doing this for them. She was doing this for him. At the core defense ring, Elias waited with a small group of armed volunteers. Their weapons hummed, their nerves shaken. They were ready to fight, but they had never faced Valkyrie like these. Suddenly, the doors burst open. The enemy stormed in, black armor, glowing eyes, no emotion. They moved like a single wave. Hold the line, Elias shouted. Blaster fire lit the hall. Humans fell. So did some Valkyrie. But they kept coming. Just when it seemed the wave would break through, the floor hatch behind the invaders opened, and Cerelia exploded out of it like lightning. She struck fast, and without mercy, flipping one warrior into another. Her blade danced in the air, and her movements were poetry and death at once. The Valkyrie froze. They hadn't expected her, especially not fighting for the humans. One of the commanders stepped forward. "Cerelia," he growled, "you are not Valkyrie anymore." "No," she said coldly. "I am something stronger now." They clashed. Blades met. Fists struck. Sparks flew. Meanwhile, Elias fought beside her, taking down warriors with skill and bravery. His shots were clean. His orders saved lives. He didn't fight for pride. He fought for hope. Finally, as the last warrior dropped, Cerelia turned to face the commander, her old mentor. He raised a small remote. "You failed," he sneered. "Say goodbye." He pressed the button. Cerelia flinched, but nothing happened. Behind him, Elias stepped out of the shadows, holding the deactivated detonator. "I'm sorry," he said. "I borrowed that a moment ago." The commander's eyes widened. Cerelia didn't wait. Her blade flashed once, and he fell. It was over. The silence that followed was heavy, but peaceful. Elias limped forward, bruised but alive. She caught him before he could fall. "You saved me," she said softly. "No," he whispered, smiling. "You saved yourself." They looked at each other, and without a word more, they knew this war wasn't about conquest anymore. It was about belonging. From enemy to bride, the smoke had cleared. Ravak Station floated silent above the planet once more, its scars fresh but its heart unbroken. Engineers moved through the damaged sections. Medics treated the wounded. Soldiers saluted their commander with new respect. But for Cerelia, the war was far from over. She stood in the mirror of the medical bay, her shoulder wrapped in a bandage. Her armor, once clean and proud, was now cracked and faded. But her face was calm. Not with pride, with peace. "You don't look like a prisoner anymore," Elias said as he stepped into the room. She turned. "And you don't look like a man who was nearly killed." He smiled. "I've had worse first dates." She rolled her eyes, but her lips curved into a smile. Yet behind her smile, doubt still lingered. "They'll send more," she said softly. "The Valkyrie never leave witnesses. They won't accept my betrayal." "You didn't betray anyone," Elias said. "You chose truth." "Truth has a price," she replied. "So does love." Those words stopped her. She looked at him slowly, as if unsure she'd heard right. "What did you say?" "I said," he stepped closer, "you didn't just change this station. You changed me. I never believed in fate or connection across stars until you stood beside me." Her voice shook. "I don't belong anywhere anymore, Elias. I'm not Valkyrie, and I'm not human." He took her hand. "Then let's make a place where you do." She looked down at their hands. His, rough from years of work and war. Hers, trained to kill, now learning to feel. And yet, together, they fit. Suddenly, the doors slid open. A message came through the station's channel. "This is Central Earth Command. We've received your emergency transmission. Status report requested." Elias walked to the console. "This is Commander Elias Ward of Ravak Station. Enemy threat neutralized. Station secure. But we have one final request." He glanced at Cerelia. She nodded slowly. "I wish to file for interspecies sanctuary rights," Elias said, "for one Valkyrie citizen, and I request permission to name her as my official partner." There was silence on the other end. Then static. Then a voice. "Commander, did you say partner?" Cerelia stepped forward. "Tell them the truth," she said. He did. Yes, she was sent to break me. But in the end, her defeat changed us both. And now, if she's willing, I'd rather fight with her than ever fight again. The voice over the speaker paused for a long moment. Then softly, "Request approved." Cerelia stood still. No orders. No chains, just a choice. And she made it. She turned to Elias. "I was trained to conquer hearts," she said, "but I never knew what it meant. Until now." They walked side by side to the observation deck, where the stars stretched forever, endless, open, full of new beginnings. In a small ceremony under the twin moons of Ravak's orbit, with humans and former enemies as witnesses, Elias placed a silver ring on her finger. "This isn't surrender," he whispered. "No," she whispered back, "it's victory." And as they stood together, warrior and commander, alien and human, no one saw enemies anymore. Only two souls who chose peace and love against all odds. The end.